and we decided to go with Lotus Pro from Tersano. We wanted to test that against the chemicals that we were using at that time. And so we developed our test plan. We decided, which surfaces we were going to test. We started out with bathrooms because those are our most critical since we cleaned Apple 1, and you have multiple residents using the bathrooms on each floor, along with the public bathrooms. Common spaces came after bathrooms, but we wanted to start with the bathrooms first, and so we decided which surfaces we were going to test, from sinks to toilets to shower partitions to counters to walls to the door handles. We wanted to make sure we got all of those touch points. We decided who we were going to test with. We were very specific. We actually picked several of our staff to test behind, and then how we were going to test, we decided that we would, and it was I that did this, so I went into the bathroom with the custodian and tested surfaces before they actually cleaned, and then I tested surfaces after they cleaned with the chemical. I did that again in another bathroom. I would test the surface before they cleaned, and I would test the surface after they cleaned with Lotus Pro, which is our water-based system. In order to gain staff support, what we did was we actually went and met with our staff. We walked them through why we were testing this cleaning system, how we were going to test, and really ultimately the importance of the feedback that they gave us. We also then, when we tested, we made sure that we shared every test result with them. And as you can see on the right, it gives you kind of a face view of that ATP tester. So the number that's in green, that 30, that is actually the number that comes up after you've tested the surface or before you've tested the surface. And we could show the staff what those numbers were before and after they cleaned with chemical, and then before and after they cleaned with Lotus Pro. Next slide. This slide actually just shows you some of our results, but it isn't so much the results as much as documenting that plan. This is actually step 4 of creating our plan, having the proof, having the results, and it's also our third step in basically how to be a leader, making sure that you do have those records, that you're documenting the results. The ATP meter and software is something that we can access on our computers. We can store this long term. There is no cost for that. There's also visual results that we have taken, so before and after photos that we've used to show our staff as well as our colleagues in other campus departments what our results are. And so the photo on the right, or the example on the right, is actually the testing results before and after we cleaned with our current chemicals at that time, which were disinfectant A456 from Ecolab in our bathroom. And so, for example, if you look at the numbers, that top number, it's a 247 Smith 3100 toilet seat. That's the location. If you look to the far right, you'll see where it says fail. It says 5975. That's what the soil content was on the toilet seat before we cleaned. And if you go down to that top where it's highlighted, where it says fail 597, that's what the soil content read after we cleaned with chemical. We still failed, although the number dropped quite a bit, and so that's what we were trying to visually show our staff what their results were. Next slide. The next slide also shows just some of the testing results that we had, and this actually shows our testing results before and after Lotus Pro. Again, this just helped us be able to show the custodians, okay, here were your numbers before you cleaned. Those that are not highlighted were before she cleaned. And then the ones that are highlighted are after she cleaned. It just gave me a chance to be able to verbally talk with and visually show this custodian what her numbers were and how she was doing. And she had a number of passes with water. And that became very important to us. Next slide. Because what we found was that we were actually getting some of the results were the same as, if not better, with water than they were with chemicals. But we've also then become the leader in using this technology because we've done all of the testing, we have all of the results. Talking with colleagues, our other departments, for example, here in the residence halls would be dining. We also have university apartments, and so we have started cleaning some of our apartments using Lotus Pro. Talking with partners, for example, athletics, or talking with the Wisconsin unions and sharing with them our results, and then, of course, submitting our results for recognition. Next slide, which we did with in winning the Green Clean award. And so sometimes it's important to remember, keeping a big picture view. It's not always a quick timeline when you're making this type of transition, but really for us, this was very quick. We were looking for ways to improve or change our cleaning program to go from cleaning with Green Seal certified to cleaning with no chemicals in about 2011. And in 2012, we did our first testing behind 4 of our custodians. We have roughly 65 custodians that work in housing that are full-time custodians. That doesn't include our students. Also in 2012, then we went ahead and purchased those handheld units and the ATP tester, and then started sharing that information. In 2013, we had such good results during 2012 that we actually purchased our first 6 wall mount units, which you see a photo of on the right, in early March of 2013, and we continued to test behind our custodians. In October of 2013, we purchased another 22 wall mount units, and we have those installed in all of our residence halls at this point. And so we are very happy that we've been able to eliminate the use of disinfectant, general purpose cleaner, and window cleaner in those areas. Also in November 2013, I actually did a presentation for the Vice Chancellor here at the UW and his direct reports, which was very exciting for me to be able to share that information and the results and answer their questions. So exciting that one of our campus partners, the Office of Sustainability and University Health Services, was very excited to hear about this. University Health Services is our clinics here for our residents, and so they were very excited to see what we were doing, and it was really nice to be able to talk with them because we actually cleaned one of their satellite offices, and so they now know, and they were very supportive. And then again, being able to be the silver recipient of the Green Cleaning Award in 2013 was a big recognition for us and showed a lot of support. There's been a lot of talk about that on campus. In 2014, being able to do this webinar, and I'll be doing another one, or I anticipate doing another one in August to get into much more detail of Lotus Pro from Tersano. And then in October of this upcoming year, in October of this year, I will be presenting at one of the APA conferences in Missouri. So some of the things that we learned, next slide. Lotus Pro, water-based cleaning, actually did take the place of our big 3 chemicals, our disinfectant, our glass cleaner, and our general purpose cleaner. We know that Lotus Pro has not been effective on grease-based stains. So for example, in our food service areas, somebody drops their tray of food, it had French fries on it or a burger, it's not pulling the grease out of that carpet. And we are at times still having to use a chemical to break up that grease. The ATP tester is not usable on fabric, so we could not test before and after we cleaned with Lotus Pro on our carpets or upholstery. We have to rely on visuals, such as the dirty water in the tank and actually the look of the carpet or the chairs, for example, the upholstered items after. One thing we also learned was sometimes how hard it can be to change the mindset of long-term employees. Myself being one of them, if you had told me, a few years ago that you could clean with water the same as you could clean with chemical, I would not have believed you. But seeing it for myself and letting our long-term employees see it for themselves, that has really changed for us quite a bit. That a lot of my staff that have been here for 10, 15, 20 years are really impressed with how well this is working. The other thing I think we learned out of this transition and process is that using an ATP tester in conjunction with the water-based cleaning was absolutely a must. There was no way that we were going to be able to have proof or document our changes and our transition without that tester. And so I actually owe a huge thank you to our vendor for suggesting that, because we would not potentially have thought of that when we actually switched to water-based cleaning with Lotus Pro. Next slide. As you can see, we actually did experience a very large saving in the cost of our chemicals in 2012 and 13, spending $47,000 on the big three that I mentioned, and in 2013-14, spending just $18,000 on those same chemicals because we were replacing things with Lotus Pro. During 2013 and 14, we've spent $5,500 on the Lotus Pro stabilizers, which is the one piece that you do need to replace.